remember when texting was the thing, and there were teenage girls who were sending, nude pics of themselves or video of them performing some kind of sex act on their boyfriend, or they were drunk and people took off their clothes, and and it was only ever girls that got that done to them. You never saw pictures of teenage boys that were exploited. It was always the girls. And, it would just ruin their life, and I'm sure not all of them committed suicide, but I'm sure that had to be hard to go through. And the mantra for parents became, teach your daughters, warn them about what can happen. And now we have to be concerned with webcams and what are they doing on Stick'em? What do they have on their MySpace page? Blog TV. And there's all kinds of ills out there that, our girls have to be concerned about. And you know why our girls have to be concerned about that? Because there are men out there who will exploit them. That's why we have to be concerned about it. And instead of having a real conversation about the underlying themes in cases like the Amanda Todd case, we want to have a kind of meaningless, hopefully preventative discussion about, well, girls, you just shouldn't do da 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 da. And I know that people often mean well. They often, are genuine about, well, we have to tell girls about what can happen and to make choices that won't lead to this kind of thing. But, I have a son. And nobody's going to tell me, make sure that your son doesn't exploit some young girl. Make sure your son doesn't do this, that, or the other thing to exploit some, sexually freewheeling girl or something, Nobody's going to tell me to tell my son that. But if I had a daughter, people would be harping on me about, look at people like Amanda Todd, look at these, girls who ruin their lives with pornographic pics. You gotta be more careful, and not that those girls should be held accountable. That's what they always say. They shouldn't, this isn't their fault at all. But I could go on forever about that. That is the underlying theme here. Is that this girl's life would be, she'd still have a life if not for the double standard we still are forced to operate under. And yes, there is a double standard. And I know that even the most feminist guys, the most average, equal-minded guys, who would never dream about doing any overt sexist act, like, raping women or saying that they shouldn't hold public office, or whatever kind of foaming at the mouth sexism actually exists out there and still creeps up from time to time. Those guys don't want to hear about this double standard going on. They don't want to be inconvenienced with it. They feel like they're having a hard enough time in their lives. Which usually what they mean is that, well, we have to pay for dinner. That's what they mean. All those kind of, noble things that they do on dates for women. And, usually I don't have the heart to say, well, she had to eat more than that one time. Like, okay, I get it. Men are put out by, especially now in the current financial climate, they're put out by things that are expected of them in the culture, and there is some sexism towards men. But you know what? Chivalry isn't oppression. And this girl's, and it's certainly not on a moral parallel with what this girl was going through, and a lot of girls will go through and may just not kill themselves and become, headline news. The double standard literally killed this girl. It bullied her to death. There is a wide chasm between what these girls have to be aware of nowadays and the little piddly amounts of sexism that might be displayed towards boys. I don't know if I have to explain why the double standard figures in here, but I guess just briefly I'll say that it figures in because boys are not going to have to be warned about being too freewheeling the way girls are going to always be concerned about that. And women. Girls and women are going to have to be concerned about what they do at parties, whereas boys are going to do whatever the fuck they want to, generally with immunity to just about anything they do. That's why it's important to recognize that the double standard is playing out here, and men may not enjoy listening to that, but you know what? You're going to keep hearing it until shit like this stops. And to think about adding to the laundry list of things women and girls have to be concerned of. We have to now add to this, well, don't flash your boobs on a webcam because a year later some idiot might come and use it against you. To this list of be careful at parties. Don't leave your drink alone. Some guy might try to drug you and rape you. Don't go off in a car with some guy alone. Be careful about what you're wearing, because if you get raped, depending on what you were wearing, that's going to have a bearing on how legitimate your rape is going to be considered. This laundry list. I mean, I could go on about that for days, right? We could all go, anyone who has any kind of awareness could go on about stuff like that for days. The things that men never have to give a second thought to, that women are in this culture where we have to be aware of it all the time. And even, 15-year-old girls have to be concerned about it because there'll be no protection. I just really don't want to. I've never felt good about using cases like this, where this girl, an unfortunate pic is circulated, her life is turned upside down by it, or whatever it might be, a video, whatever, she was doing pornography, whatever it was. I don't like to use that as well, girls, you got to be more concerned. No, men need to be more concerned with how they act. And men have to be more concerned with why they exploit girls. That's what we need to talk about. That's the dialogue that really needs to be addressed here. And it's just a tragedy that this girl's life is gone because of this double standard. This girl's life is gone because she was bullied to death. So of course I'm for giving young people giving people in general as much information as we can about how to move about in their life in a safe way and have a safe, productive life. And of course that would extend to young people. They really need as much information as they can to avoid dangerous situations like this. But for the most part, to me, this is kind of white noise in the larger social context in which this is happening. This isn't, cases like the Amanda Todd case are not in this vacuum. They're happening in a larger context, and we need to examine that and not be concerned that our boyfriends are going to be irritated, our husbands are going to be irritated, or men are going to laugh at us. I mean, they've been doing that. That's why we're in situations like this. They've been ignoring us, and we've just been taking it, and that's why things like this continue. Of course, she's just some kid, right? She's just some 15-year-old kid. And, people are going to be a lot kinder and understanding probably because of that. But But, I imagine if this were a full-grown woman, we'd have no concern about it. And we would just completely vomit our prejudices out onto her. And I feel like things like this, the emphasis on teach your daughters, teach your daughters, teach your daughters, instead of teach your sons, teach your sons, teach your sons, are the training wheels to making women responsible for sexual assaults and street harassment and so on and so forth for later in life. This is the precursor to making them responsible for whatever kind of sexual projections heterosexual men have towards them. And it's obviously very dangerous.